What's up, MD fans and followers? My name is Xavier. I'm from the YouTube channel Desktop Bodybuilding, and I am back with another MD Bodybuilding Weekly. Today's topic is, this is my top 10 bodybuilders that I think will have a breakout year and shock the bodybuilding world in 2021. So I'm going to go from 10th all the way down to 1st. I'm going to start at 10th with Nathan D'Asha. So Nathan D'Asha is a guy who's placed top 7 in the Olympia. He's won 6 IFBB Pro contests and has been a really consistent competitor on stage, bringing a variety of different looks as well. He's come in super full at some shows, he's come in super shredded at other shows, and he really is able to, I suppose, control his body and what he actually brings to the bodybuilding stage. So I'm very excited to see what he can bring in 2021. Now, obviously being over in the UK as well, we're in lockdowns and all that sort of crazy stuff now. So this is obviously granted he can compete. One advantage he does have the Prophecy Performance Center, which is his own gym, which he's obviously able to train at as well. So, I mean, I don't know how strict the lockdowns are over there, whether you're actually able to go out of your house right now and actually go to a gym and train or whatever, but I'm sure Nathan will make it happen no matter what. So I think Nathan D'Asha could have a breakout 2021, because from what he was telling me in interviews, he was about 10 pounds up on his previous best leading into that Arnold Classic in early 2020. So if he can bring an extra 10 pounds to the stage, or even 5 pounds, and come in really good condition, I think Nathan D'Asha is going to be a problem, maybe even for that top 6 in the 2021 Mr. Olympia. In 9th, I have your 2018 Mr. Olympia, Shawn Flexatron Rhoden. Now, obviously, Shawn can come back at, I think, 46 or 47 years of age to Mr. Olympia in 2021. Granted, he is allowed to compete, whether that's pending on his case or what's actually happening. I do believe he deserves to be on stage at the 2021 Mr. Olympia, and people are forgetting how good his package was from 2018. Now, some people might say he's not as complete as some other bodybuilders. He needs a bit more back, he needs a bit more arms, and all those sorts of things. But when you look at his overall physique and how it actually flows, I think he brought a tremendous look to that 2018 Mr. Olympia. And that was the last time we actually got to see him on stage. Now, Shawn Rhoden is going to have a fire under his belly. He's going to want to come back and reclaim that title, but he wasn't actually able to defend in 2019 due to the case that's going on right now. So I think Shawn Rhoden is going to be all-time motivated. I think he can come back and actually win the Mr. Olympia in 2021. And if he did that, he'd be right at the very top of this list. But is that a given? Definitely not. He's going to be 46 to 47 years of age when he stands on stage, if he stands on stage at the 2021 Mr. Olympia. I would love to see him come in and win it. Do I think he can do it? Absolutely. So I've got Shawn Rhoden in 9th on my list. In 8th, I have Raphael Brando. Now, Raphael, I believe, finished 3rd of that Europa Pro Championships, just behind Lucas Ozdil and James Hollingshead. You could have even argued he could have beaten Lucas Ozdil. And Lucas is a top 10 Mr. Olympia competitor as well. Not this year, but he was last year. So very, very impressive look that he actually brought to the stage this year. Now, he wasn't able to compete in the Olympia this year because he was diagnosed with COVID-19. He had some side effects from it and wasn't able to get to the US. So it was incredibly unfortunate for Raphael. But, granted that he's able to, win a show or place very high and get there on points in 2021, I think that he can potentially place as high as top 10 if he is able to add the muscle that he needs to his physique, because his shape is there. Like, his shape is absolutely phenomenal. The way his muscle bellies and everything sit. I mean, I am a massive fan of his physique. So I think he can do massive things in 2021, and I think he will shock the bodybuilding world this year. In 7th, I have James Flex Lewis, your 7-time 212 Mr. Olympia. I think that he can come into the Opens this year and do incredibly well straight off the bat. I thought he could have actually done very well this year had he been able to compete, but obviously he did have some injury concerns that he's getting treatment on right now. So I think that he'll be able to bounce back and come back looking really, really good. Maybe his best ever. In my opinion, I do think it will be his best ever, because he does have the extra weight to play with, not being restricted by the weight cap of 212 pounds. So many people have said for years that he looks best at 4 weeks out, 5 weeks out. It's just that he has to suffer down to actually get under 212 pounds, where he probably loses a hell of a lot of fullness. And his off seasons as well, he's really taking them pretty, I suppose, moderate in terms of trying to add muscle or whatever, because he doesn't have any more muscle he needs to add. So he's really just trying to maintain in the off season. He takes some time off. I think that if he's obviously going for the Opens, he can add as much muscle as he needs to, and I think he's going to be smart about it too. Flex doesn't strike me as a guy that's going to blow out his physique and add just a ton of bad weight to his physique. So I think he's going to do it the smart way. I think he's going to add some good muscle, maybe be 10 pounds bigger even. It would look very, very impressive on stage. And we've seen Hardy and Flex actually compete next to each other on stage in the 212s. I think that obviously Flex moving up into the Open will be a bigger advantage for him. And I think these guys could definitely be close in the Open Mr. Olympia. Let me know in the comments below who you think would win out of Hardy and Flex at the 2021 Mr. Olympia. In 6th, I have Patrick Moore. So he shocked a lot of people at the 2019 Mr. Olympia. Came into the Arnold Classic early 2020 and really, I suppose, didn't bring his very best package. He looked maybe a little bit flat, just didn't nail it really on stage. Competed a little bit later in the year, still, I suppose, wasn't at his best. So he really just needs to add a bit more muscle overall to his frame and bring that 2019 Mr. Olympia conditioning as well. And I think he can do it. I mean, he's really hasn't been in the sport a long time, so he's still pretty fresh. Even though he's into his 30s, he's still got, I think, plenty of time to add, more muscle to his physique. And I think that he's going to be able to do it. So I think he's going to add some muscle this year and shock people again in 2021, just like he did in 2019. In 5th, I have Dwayne Walker. Now, he shocked people in 2020. He moved from the 212s up to the open. I think he can shock people again. I think he can win a pro show. He's added a lot of muscle in 1 year. If he can add half that amount of muscle again, like add another 10 pounds or 9 pounds or half of whatever he added last year, which was a lot of weight, apparently he's up near 20 pounds. I think that he can do incredibly well. He's got great shape. He's got, I suppose, a bit of a different shape as well. Just needs a little bit more on the legs and a few other spots. But if he's able to do that, then I think he can do incredibly well in 2021 and shock a lot of people once again, just like he did in 2020. In 4th, I've got Hassan Mustafa working with Chris Aceto. He has all the muscle in the world that he could need on his physique. He looks absolutely phenomenal. It's really just been a conditioning thing for him in the past. If he's able to really nail his conditioning down, he can win pro shows hands down. He has probably more muscle than a lot of guys in the IFBB Pro League right now, probably only really behind guys like Big Ramy and Rolly Winkler and a few other guys. But outside of that, he's probably the biggest guy on the planet right now, muscular-wise, height for height. So I think Hassan Mustafa, the one, I suppose, knock on his physique, he does have the narrow clavicles, maybe even more narrow than a Phil Heath, who was able to, build, tremendously large shoulders and become incredibly round and build his back up and really, I suppose, overcompensate for those narrow clavicles. If Hassan's able to add a little bit of muscle in the right spots and just come in razor sharp conditioning, Hassan Mustafa can be a problem, not only in small pro shows, but even in bigger pro shows as well. In 3rd, I have Nick Walker. So he won his pro card this year, made his pro debut this year, placed 4th at the Chicago Pro. Very, very tough lineup. Very, very impressive with his physique. His conditioning was his all-time best, in my opinion, at least from what I've seen. Very impressed with Nick Walker this year. I think he can shock people next year because that was a tough lineup. If he can pull maybe a slightly easier lineup, or even just the fact that he's improved from 2020 to 2021, I think he can win a pro show. I think he can get to the Olympia, and I think potentially he could place top 10. Because in the Olympia, I think there's 2 types of physiques that do really well that are outside the top 5. And I think it's guys that are either really big and still come in condition, or guys that have great shape and come in condition. He's a guy that's really big and comes in condition. So he's obviously a mass monster. His physique doesn't flow as well as some guys. I mean, he's got a slightly wider hip structure, but overall, I think I'm going to be very impressed with his physique in 2021 because he's been steadily adding a lot of really good muscle lately. And, we've seen him actually make progress since doing that Chicago Pro. So Nick Walker is a 3rd guy on my list. In number 2, I have Mark Hector. Made his pro debut this year, looked amazing, really shocked a lot of people. When he opens up in that front relaxed pose, it looked almost unbeatable, and then you sort of break it down, he stands next to others, and when he stands next to others, you sort of see the size difference. So he looks really tall by himself because he's got a really super small waist. Legs probably need a little bit more muscle, but when he stands next to other people, you can see sort of that he needs to add muscle to his physique. But overall, very impressive. He's a guy that really is a future potential Mr. Olympia. That's how good Mark Hector really is. If he's able to add the necessary muscle, he's working with Abdullah over there from Oxygen Gym in Kuwait, and he's done some amazing things. Obviously, with Brandon Curry, your 2019 Mr. Olympia. I think that Mark Hector can do some amazing things in bodybuilding, and I think over the next couple of years, he's going to really grow into his physique, and I think that he's going to be a Mr. Olympia competitor for years to come. And in 1st, I have Quinn Arria. Now, I know Quinton personally, so people might say this is a little bit biased, but he didn't bring his best this year. He placed 1 spot behind Antoine Vaillant, and the next weekend or weekend after, Antoine actually went on to win the Cali Pro, and really him and Quinton were quite close. That's how close that New York Pro really was, right down to 8th or 9th place. So I think if Quinton can bring his best in 2021 and not have to prep, literally almost all year, where you're having shows delayed and trying to sort of hold that conditioning, I think that Quinton can do amazing. Now, Quinton, I think the reason why he maybe didn't bring his best this year is because he's trying to sort of maintain that conditioning, and he hasn't had his muscle on his physique for as long as some of these other guys. Quinton's really, really young, and has only been this big for really, only this year really, but the last couple of years he's only really been IFBB Pro Bodybuilder sort of big. So I think that, another year in the gym for Quentin, he's looked like he's making some, improvements. He had his gyno taken out as well, which I think will only help. So I think Quentin is going to shock a lot of people in 2021. I know that he's sort of fired up to compete and do really well. And I think that he can actually make the Olympia in 2021. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below about all my picks. And I want to make a couple of honorable mentions as well. John De La Rosa and Samson Dowder. These guys very nearly made my list as well. Samson competed in that Korea Pro, placed only 1 point behind the eventual winner, Lee Seong Chol, who competed at the Olympia and got that qualification. And John De La Rosa, he came in not at his best, but we know John De La Rosa can bring something pretty special. He's going back to the hardcore heavy training for 2021, and he's going to bring, I suppose, something pretty special, hopefully. I think he can, because John's a good dude, and I know that he's really putting a lot into this 2021 season. So that's it for this video, guys. If you guys like and appreciate this content, please give this video a thumbs up, smash that like button, also subscribe to Muscular Development's YouTube channel. Also, head over to Desktop Bodybuilding as well, and if you like my videos, subscribe and hit the notification bell button over there as well. I've got heaps of videos going up from myself, Xavier Wills at Desktop Bodybuilding. That's it for another episode of MD Bodybuilding Weekly. For Xavier Wills, Muscular Development, we are out.